Welcome to Scorched Earth and the general reading for the sign of Taurus, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of December. I hope you are well. We're using the Crow Tarot for you today. Before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. If the reading resonates and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there is an extended that you can access at the end. That will be the first link in the description box. The second link in the description box is to the 6-month overviews that I have just completed for all of the signs. They run from January to June 2023. They're running at somewhere around 3 hours for most of them, unless you're a Pisces, and then it's 4 hours. So I think they're well worth the money, worth a look. And the third link in the description box is to my Circle community. I have moved from Patreon onto Circle, and I think it's great. It's full of people who are like-minded, let's put it that way. So if you're interested in that, do feel free to check it out. But with all of that out of the way, let's have a look and see what's going on with you. Can I have 3 cards for Taurus, please? Whoa, there's the first one. We have the Star in your recent past. About current energy for Taurus, please. We have the Hierophant. That's the Taurus card right there. And what's coming towards Taurus, please? Thank you. We have the Knight of Pentacles. Get it around so you can see it. The Knight of Pentacles, Virgo energy. At the bottom of the deck, we have the King of Wands. It's very nice to see. Let's get a clarifying deck here. We're going to go with the Triple Goddess. Right. Tell me about the Star. What's that here for Taurus? Oh, thank you. We have the Hangman in reverse and the Two of Swords in reverse, which is interesting. Tell me about the Hierophant, please. Hierophant is clarified by the King of Pentacles, another Taurus card. And we also have the Hermit in reverse. Right, another Virgo card, interestingly. Tell me about the Knight of Pentacles, please. We have the Five of Wands. Don't fret. Knight of Pentacles. And the Five of Pentacles. And the Knight of Pentacles is at the bottom of the deck again. Okay, so stuff's definitely been going on with you, Taurus. No shadow of a doubt about that. And we start off with that. Actually, I'm going to flip this around so you can see what I'm looking at. We start off with this Aquarian card of the Star. It's a very beautiful card. It talks about healing and vulnerability. But it also talks about the future. And I feel like with these 2 cards here, we've got the Hangman in reverse and we've got the Two of Swords in reverse, that the way that you are thinking about your future is changing. It has been shifting. It could be that you're taking your eye a little, from what is directly in front of you to something a little bit further out, or it could be quite the opposite. It could be you bringing your eye to what is right in front of you and being like, okay, this is something that I need to work through before I get to whatever it is. But this Hangman in reverse, much like the Hermit in reverse, actually, it's a similar sort of vibe to it. You feel like you've been in a state of stasis for a little while. Being as this is your recent past, I mean, we could be talking literally as recently as this morning before you watch this video, or we could be going back 5 or 6 weeks and everything in between. Something's been going on that's had you in a state of suspension, almost. This is seeing the world from a different perspective and voluntarily kind of submitting to that. But where the Hangman shows up in reverse, generally the idea is that it's shown up in the upright at some point at a previous point. So we're going from a state of a very static energy, perhaps where you have withdrawn a little bit so you can kind of order your thoughts about stuff. We've definitely got you thinking about the future and what the future holds, what the potential path for your healing is. But there is movement here, even if it is only thought at this point. Now, this Two of Swords is quite important because it feels to me like it's in some way highlighted blind spots that you have. The worst kind of blind spots that we have are the ones that are subconscious creates for us. I mean, they're probably all like that, to be honest. They're the sort of things whereby if you sit with them, then they reveal themselves. And I feel like that's what you've been doing here. Certainly at the point where the Hanged Man was in reverse, we've got the Devil showing up here, which is Capricorn energy. And we've got the Queen of Wands. And so I feel like there's been a lot of addressing what it is that you are afraid of. I think there's been some sort of... there could have been a singular catalysing event, or it could just be, you being you here at this time. Coming to a point where you realise that there are things that are holding you back, there are things that are restricting you, and you want free of them. You want to break free of them. So, like I said, whether it's been a singular catalysing event, or whether you've just felt energetically like you need to pull back a little bit and go back to the drawing board in terms of what you're feeling and where you want to go. I do think that this Devil kind of showing its face has had you looking in the really deep, dark parts of yourself, Taurus. And I have to say, although it may not have been comfortable, you're certainly managing it. We've got the Queen of Wands there. I mean, she's a wonderful card of dynamism and confidence and good self-esteem and all those sorts of things. But she speaks to the internal experience of fire, for me. And so what we've got here is somebody who, despite what is uncomfortable, is still going to look for the thing that is holding them back, that is in some way restricting them. Now, this is a tool that I think that you've picked up over the last couple of years. We've seen it in development, we've seen it happening. And so where there are restrictions and obstacles and constrictions, all sorts of iction kind of words there, the understanding is that it originates in an internal place. And where you used to be a little scared of approaching the Devil and everything that it represents in you, now there's much more willingness to do it. In fact, I feel like you kind of run with it, really, because you're not a shallow sign, Taurus. Like, you are designed to go deep. Your roots are designed to go deep, and so it's necessary for you to dig really deep when you're looking for what it is that is restricting you here and now. And I think that you found it. I think you found a lot of it, because when we come into your current energy, we've got something that's far more rooted and grounded than you have been up until this point, right? It's if the star is up in the sky, and it's that kind of top-down relationship that we have with Source or the universe or your higher self, your spirit guides, whatever it is, right? Where you're like, okay, I'm ready to be led in a different direction. I understand that I have to go and face my fears so that I can ready myself for the journey of reaching the star. The Hierophant and the King of Pentacles indicates that bit of you that is in contact with the earth, that bit of you that is completely grounded, and what you choose to do with it thereafter. Now, the Hierophant, like I said, is a Taurus card, and it can speak to teaching. It can speak to establishments and institutions quite often. It can even talk to marriage and whatnot. It talks about things that are vaguely hierarchical in nature. But where you've got somebody at the top who's kind of disseminating new information to people who are, there to hear it. That's where the teaching aspect comes from. But we also have that sense of heritage and legacy with the Hierophant, in the same way that I feel with the Ten of Pentacles quite often. What have you inherited, and what are you releasing out into the world? What is it that you are sharing? Because I think at this point you've come to some really quite sterling conclusions about things, Taurus. And again, I'm going to use the word grounded again. They are very grounded. And there's an understanding that you're not there yet, but you're certainly further ahead than you were. We've talked about this a little bit here and there, Taurus, about the idea of there being something that you have to share with the world that is getting ready to come out. Got the King of Wands, very active energy there. The Leo card. This is Aries, by the way, I forgot to mention it, and the Page of Cups. There's something very dynamic, but also very gentle. Very compassionate about the way that you approach your own self-development but the way that you encourage others to do the same. Now, this King of Pentacles feels to me like, if this is the aim, if this is the goal, if this is what you're working towards, then the King of Pentacles is the card that speaks of the energy of creating a plan. The Pentacles suit quite often is about delayed gratification. It's a slow-moving suit. So what you've got here is between the Hierophant, which is, what has already been planted and what have you been working with all of this time, and then the legacy in terms of, now, what are you planning and how do you plan to move forwards? What's going on with you? We've got the Fool at the bottom of the deck here, and there's a definite sense that you've been lifting a burden from yourself, one that is indicated here. Like, I think that you've had well, okay, so let's think about this. So Scorpio is your opposite sign, right? And we've literally just come out of Scorpio season, and that's immersive for everyone. Emotionally immersive. It is deep. It's designed to be deep that way. And so the time that you've spent reflecting on how things are changing and how you wish to change as a result of that, whether, like I said, it's come by way of an event that's kind of triggered this, or whether it was just an energy that you were tuned into, I feel like you're much more certain about where you want to go and what you want to do, and the beginnings of making a plan to get you there are happening in the here and now. Now we see it here with this Hermit card. The time for going within and looking for the answers is now past. That's not a constant state that one must be in. It's a point that you go to periodically to see where you are, right? See where you are on your own personal map, and is it time to come out and start looking at things again? Yeah, well, it's time to emerge from the cave. You've learned everything that you needed to learn. And I think it's interesting that Scorpio is the opposite sign of Taurus. Did I say that already in the zodiac? So there is a link there. There's an axis between those two signs. And we did have that incredible eclipse on November the 8th. It feels like it's tidied a lot of things up for you. Like I say, it was slightly uncomfortable, but it's clarified your thinking greatly. And more than that, it's clarified your idea of what you're going to do about it afterwards, which is almost more important. So we see you coming back out of wherever you've been. Got the Five of Pentacles here. Interesting. And the Three of Wands. So where there is a deficit, right, where you feel like you don't have everything that you need, whether that's on a financial level, whether that's time, whether that's your energy levels generally, it's about working out what you're going to do about that. Because these things don't change by themselves, Taurus, you know this. Clip in my little Kilmer jar down here. Let's move that. If you want things to change, it usually comes about by way of sustained effort, right? And that's something that you do very well. But I feel at this point, drifting isn't really the option, and I don't feel you drifting at all. I feel like things are starting to slot into place in your head about how it is that you move forward, what it is that you have to do. I think the King of Wands does not at this point indicate an incredible passionate drive forwards, right? I'm going to do this thing, wild enthusiasm and wild creativity. More it's talking about how your energy levels are starting to increase. The more you do, the more you can do, but it must be paced at the Taurus pace, right? So coming out of the cave, coming out of this period of suspension, and then working on what it is that is missing from your life, be it money or time or any of the things that you are identifying as being represented by the Five of Pentacles here, because that is a lack, or it's a fear of a lack. Poverty or fear of poverty. So looking at your situation and making sure that the deficits that you have identified do clearly exist. And I feel like you've been very methodical about this anyway, Taurus. So I don't think that you've misunderstood the situation anyway. is a really important cornerstone of working out where you go next. What happens next? What do you do next? How do you emerge from the cave wiser than you went in? That's where you feel like you are to me at the moment. So when we come into December, what we've got is the Knight of Pentacles, and we actually have it here twice because it's on the bottom of this deck here. It's a card of Virgo, and it speaks to exactly what we were talking about, right? The sustained, diligent effort into something. Whatever you're working with, it's not going to resolve itself overnight, as nice as that would be. It's not going to do that. But I think that you're aware of that, and I don't think that you're expecting it to be any different. You know, this night is the one that we give tasks to when we want to make sure that they are completed, and so there's a certain amount of discipline that is also involved in, you know, the presence of this card. But the important thing is that we're going, the King of Pentacles is highlighting where we want to end up. That's Taurus. I want to be over there. I want to be a King of Pentacles. But in order to get there, we need the Knight. And the Knight's holding this pentacle. He's holding up what is of value, right? Cradling what is of value. Making sure that it doesn't get damaged either way, anywhere along the line. So the pentacle can be your plan. It is, you know, an Ace of Pentacles. It can be the seed that you intend to plant. But it can also speak to so many other things too. It can speak to that which is of value to you. I mean, you might have found that your values have subtly shifted over the recent past. And so in order to move forwards on a new path, or certainly on a path that is taking you towards the new, what is necessary is that you have examined your value system and make sure that it's still in alignment with where you want to go. Has something needed tweaking? Has something needed changing? It's about getting your head down and getting the job done, Taurus, and not really peeking up too often, other than to check that you're on the right path. What's interesting is the Five of Wands and the Five of Pentacles sitting underneath of this, because these are both cards of instability. We've already seen one here with the Five of Pentacles, and here it is again. The Five of Wands is about conflict, and that can be conflict with other people. You know, it can be in a state of disagreement with people. It can find you know, coming up against somebody who has a different idea about how things are done, and you having to essentially kind of duke it out, pretty much. But I'm going to pull another card for this, because I am wondering if these are actually your motivating, this is the drive that is keeping the Knight of Pentacles going here. Now that Five of Wands, the Five of Pentacles, thank you. We have the Tower. We have the Ten of Swords, and we have the Nine of Swords. Now, the interesting thing is, particularly with this Hermit card at the bottom of the deck here, I don't feel like this is a tower that is hitting you in December. I don't feel like this conflict and this Five of Pentacles is something that is hitting you in December. Had any one of these cards been the main one that came up, I would have been like, whew, okay, it's going to be a little bit rocky here, Taurus. But that's not what the cards are saying. What the cards are saying is there's nothing that cannot be solved by your diligent application of effort to a situation. Now, it could be that this is a month of ups and downs. That's highly likely. But what I was saying there before about this being the motivation, this being the drive that keeps this Knight of Pentacles plodding forwards, I feel is almost borne out by these other cards at the bottom here. We've got the Tower card, we've got the Ten of Swords, and we've got the Nine of Swords. Like, you understand innately what all of these cards mean here, because you've had to deal with them for some of them for a considerable amount of time. Oh, and what I like about it is the fact that they're all clustering up here together. You've had Towers in your past. You've definitely had, you know, Ten of Swords in your past. Nine of Swords was almost like a defining card for you for the longest time. You know, this Five of Wands, I feel indicating conflict within yourself. You understand that very well. And Five of Pentacles, you understand what it's like to be left out in the cold. You understand what it's like to be isolated. You understand what it is like to be frustrated. Now, the cumulative effect of all of this knowledge here together is, I feel, the wisdom of how to move forwards. You know, the fact that the Hermit is here and he's shining a light over all of this stuff, it's like you have everything that you need to be coming from a place of incredible wisdom for a start. But also to know that not one of these means the end of you, Taurus. Not one of them. You've got 100% survival rate on everything that you have gone through so far. Nobody can take that away from you. You've got through it all. You might be a little bit tatty in places. You might have some little nicks in your horns. One of them might have snapped off a little bit. But you're still here. And that counts for something, Taurus. I really do think that that counts for something. Because when I say here, I don't mean just existing, you know, I don't mean just vibrating at this frequency. I mean, you're still here. You're still showing up. You're showing up for yourself. You're showing up for the people that are important to you. You're showing up here month in, month out, looking for the next step forwards. You know, if you want a depiction of true strength, then this is definitely one of them, Taurus. And so what seems to be shifting around here in terms of your perception of how you move forward, and we'll see it here with this Hanged Man, it's that nothing can stop you going after anything that you want except yourself. Like, this feels like it's a month where there's a true understanding of that. Not your past history, not your past conflicts, not your past frustrations, humiliations, betrayals, anxiety, overthinking. Like, none of those can actually put a leash on you. It seems to me like this is a month where you're starting to make sense of all of these past things. I'm kind of very much in mind of the feeling that I have about my brain injury now, where at the time that it happened, it was the worst thing that had ever happened to me. It literally ruined my life as far as I was concerned. Now, I'm in a position whereby I feel like it was the biggest gift I've ever received. It took me a long time to get to that point. Three of Swords underneath there. And there was a lot of internal fighting about it. But when I finally submitted to the idea that it was me that was holding me back and I wasn't actually being tortured by the universe, and maybe there was something about me that was ready to change, and I had to go and apply my awareness to it and see what was going on down there, stuff started to shift, stuff started to change. And even in the last 18 months, like, what I have learned is that, yeah, shit happens and shit is always going to happen. But am I going to allow that to crush my experience in the here and now? Or is it more grist to the mill? You know, Taurus? And it all comes down to this. It all comes down to this moon here. You know, I was talking about you being in Scorpio season. I was talking about you probably being dredging pretty deep inside you to see what's going on there. You know, it can be dark and gloomy down there. It can be difficult to know which way is up down there. But as you've emerged, and you've emerged into Sagittarius season, which I think everybody feels is feeling somewhat of a sigh of relief in the shift of the energies. But your connection with the moon and the connection with what runs really, really deep inside of you is the thing that will keep you plodding forwards. You know, the message is almost like, don't ever lose that connection with that part of you, Taurus. Because it's when things are done on autopilot, when you allow your subconscious to take over and you are not consciously involved in what is going on, that's the point where things start getting out of hand. That's the point where things stop being you stop feeling like you're in charge of your own ship, because actually you're not. Your subconscious has taken over. So whether things are good or whether things are bad, the fact that you get to be in charge of your response to any of it is a reflection of a power that you didn't realise that you had. I feel like this month is about realising that. So if something's gone wrong, we just keep plodding. If somebody's betrayed you, we just keep plodding. We don't worry about it, because I love this depiction of the Nine of Swords. Even in amongst all of this metal, this man-made object that is rammed into the ground such that the ground is now bleeding, life still finds a way. Hope springs eternal. It's a difficult lesson to learn, Taurus, but the way that I'm feeling about this, it feels like it's a turning point for you. Because a lot of this stuff you've known intellectually, but you haven't been able to apply directly because you haven't really felt it. I think that you are starting to feel it now. And I think that this return of hope and this return to the possibilities that are open to you, and why not you, Taurus? I had a client who said that to me once. It was really, really powerful. And she said, I got up in my head and I was overthinking about this, and I was like, can I even do this? What makes me think that I would be good enough to do this? And she said, and I caught myself doing that. And I stopped myself and I said, why not you? She said, and it changed everything, as it would. Not because she intellectually appreciated the fact that why not you was a perfectly obvious thing to say, but because she felt it in here. This is the difference for you, Taurus. You're starting to feel this now. Not one thing can keep you fucking down. You're every bit as strong as you wish that you were. There's the thing. And this connection with your subconscious, which is important for you to keep open, I think, so that it doesn't get left unattended, right? and goes and does its own thing. You've got to keep that constant state of connection with it. It feels like the turning point. Now, I actually can't remember what came up in your 6-month overview. It's 37 hours of video in total across all 12 signs, so I'm astonished that I even remember that I've done it at all, actually. But what I can tell you, the theme that was present across all of the signs was this Kali-like energy of absolute transformation. Shit is changing on the outside, in the exterior world, at a rate of knots in the first 6 months of 2023. And as do we, because it is necessary to do so. It's necessary to adapt. It's necessary to be kind of flexible about what we think, what we expect the outside world to provide, but also to understand that that is a distraction away from the essential truth. Your essential truth, your essential strength, and the power that you have to decide how you are going to respond to things. Every single sign got a Kali Oracle card at the end. And I actually say it's like 14 times out of 12 because I did Pisces and Capricorn only to discover that there was no audio recorded with either of them. I could have fucking cried. So I had to do them again. 14 times the Kali card came out. The Kali deck came out. And I had 2 to pick from. Everybody is undergoing these huge transformations, and I said for a lot of people that the rumblings seem to start in January, but now I've been doing the December readings, I can actually see that these pre-shocks are starting in December and really becoming much more visible in January. This is where you are here, and it's really important, Taurus, that you are able to draw on the wisdom that comes from having experienced all of these things. Shit goes wrong, yeah, just keep plodding. People betray you, yeah, just keep plodding. Don't let anybody take you away from this, and don't let you take you away from this, Taurus. If that's the piece of advice that I could give you for this month, it is that. Check forward, check check within. Right? Check out, check in, check out, check in. Keep that process going and keep plodding forwards every time. Right, I'm going to go over to Vimeo now, and I'm going to pull this apart a little bit because I'm very interested in December and what it holds for you. If you would like to join me over there, like I said, the link is in the description box. You're very welcome to do so. Don't forget about the 6-month overviews, because I do think that they're important. I wouldn't have spent an entire working week of my life creating them if I didn't think that they were important. Yes. So I shall leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much. I'm really proud of you. I'm always really proud of you, Taurus, but like, fucking hell, you know? Take care. Love you, and I'll see you soon.